family, so it may be next week.
Is he officially a councillor until then?
Probably next week. I'm trying to work in with his family, so that his family can be there. Thank you. Can I just check whether we're live now? Thank you very much. First of all, I'll just stand just to welcome people, and then I will pass over to Councillor Piki in terms of council prayer. First of all, thank you for attending. Can I just check that you can hear us in chambers?
Yes, we're good.
Thank you very much. So I welcome you here, and I'll pass to Councillor.
Kia ora mo tēnā.
You may wish to stand for the council prayer, please.
Morena koutou. Almighty God, as members of the Rangitike District Council, we give thanks for all the good things of our district and the advantages we enjoy. We pray that you will give us wisdom and guidance as we conduct the affairs of this meeting. We pray for all the communities in the district we represent. Help us to be fair and honest in our discussions and help us to work together in unity for the welfare of all your people. Amen.
Thank you, Councillor. Call for apologies. Do we have any apologies?
We just have one from Councillor Brian Carter.
Would somebody like to? I'll move that we accept Councillor Carter's apology. Those seconded. We'll go for Councillor Duncan. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you. Can you advise me back in Martin whether Paul Sharland is sitting listening?
Yes, I can confirm Paul Sharland is here.
Thank you, Paul. I welcome you. Thank you for attending. You're not officially a councillor yet, but you will become part of deliberations once you are sworn in. So thank you for your attendance. It adds to your knowledge in terms of the process later, and congratulations on your win.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll move now to item 3, the conflict of interest declarations. They can be made now or they can be made with any specific submission as they come to hand. Do we have any declarations of conflicts?
Kia ora. I have a declaration of conflict in submission 421. And I will not be speaking to the submission. Judith will be speaking to it.
That's a submission with Mokai Patia Services. Thank you very much. We will just note that. And in terms of item 4, the reports for information, I will move to Jana. Jana, sorry, I apologise occasionally calling you Jana because I have a friend exactly that same spelling. Jana, could you take us through your report, please?
This report is just to provide the details for the oral submissions that you'll be hearing today. It just gives the background that we have consulted on our long-term plan as well as a few other items, including the draft revenue and financing policy, schedule of fees and charges, rates remission policy, significance and engagement policy, and development contributions. Those who wish to speak at the hearing today have indicated on their submission form that they would like to speak, and we have arranged a time with them for today.
Any questions, councillors? No, would somebody like to so move that we receive?
Right.
Thank you, Councillor Pikitiora and Councillor Loudon seconding. Those in favour?
All right.
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Thank you very much. Before we start the submissions, there are some comments and advice that I would like to make. First of all, to those submitting, you have 10 minutes, which includes question time. How you use that question time is up to you. You can take it that councillors will have read the information carefully. If you wish to repeat it all, that's your call. But what I would suggest is that you add to or highlight your submission in some way and be reasonably specific around what redress or action you're wanting. If question time is allowed within that 10 minutes, councillors, please, this is not a chance for you to express your opinion at all, and you should not, because that makes the deliberation a difficulty. And please, if you question, make your questions please as quickly as you can. You can thank people for the submission, but please don't spend a lot of time doing that. It's not fair to the submitter. Any questions from councillors about the process? In terms of the submitters, this is an opportunity for councillors to ask questions of you, but not an opportunity for you to ask questions of councillors. Thank you very much. We'll move to the first submission. Mary, this is Taihape Netball Centre, submission number 400. Would you mind coming to the table and explaining who you are and who you're with before that 10 minutes starts? Thank you.
Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Mary Hagi ahau, I'm the president of Taihape Netball, te pokapū ko i Tarawhiti o Taihape. I'm joined by Etia Harrison, who's on our executive.
Okay, we'll take it. Your submission time starts now.
Thank you everybody for the opportunity to present this submission. This is a story of opportunities missed. The opportunity was to build safe, fit-for-purpose netball courts and tennis courts. It was missed by a series of errors which had no heed to the problems of the past and ignored current requirements. Netball Taihape's overriding concern is safety. Safety for our players, our participants. The obligation of safety, as you know, is invested in all of us. Our key points in our submission was that flooding has been a problem at the courts for years. The flooding is caused by the level of the courts and the stormwater drain underneath. This was not addressed in the recent project. Netball understood it would be. Relevant specifications were disregarded. The resurfacing works struck the drains and new drains were built which are unsafe. The result is that the courts are still unsafe. The new surface now will wear much faster and is already showing cracks. This is even before netball started. What we want, what we're looking for, the solution is to remove the stormwater drain, re-level the underlying surface and recoat the courts. All in accordance with the specifications regarding which there is assistance from Sport Wanganui, who are experienced in facilities, and Netball Central Zone. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Questions from councillors? Thank you, Councillor Dougherty.
Thank you for your submission. And I was not comfortable reading it at all. So sorry what you've been through. I'm just interested, how much has Taihape Netball put in? Do you know the cost? What does this cost you as a club?
55,000.
Thank you very much.
We got funding for the rest of it.
And how much funding did you get on top of that?
30.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. A question from me. I have taken time to walk over the courts, and I'm going to refer to specifically to the lip that you demonstrate. If the edge of that lip was ground back and beveled, would that solve that issue?
It would assist, but we've asked the contractor about that, the concrete contractor, and he said that would be extremely difficult to do. The best thing would be to actually take out the concrete as close to the fence as you can, because the concrete is the footing for that wire fence. So take it back another probably 600-700 mils and extend the plexi pave, but of course we can't do that this year. But he said it'll be very difficult to grind that edge back.
Thank you. Question, councillor Moore.
Was there any liaison between netball and when the courts were being resurfaced? Did you have any discussion with the contractors or our team about what needed doing? Or?
Yes, well, I've just become president in February,
Yeah.
but I've been through all the correspondence. And yes, there was liaison, and that's why I say netball is partly responsible for what has happened as well. They didn't pay attention to the specifications either and didn't say this was necessary from the council, but they did believe the drain was going to be taken.
Councillor, I'll go councillor Wilson, councillor Duncan, councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Mary. Quick question. In your submission, you state that it is an estimated cost of $200,000 to $300,000 to make good the issues that you've identified. Two-part question. Who gave that estimate to you, and would it be available to council for our own review for councillors?
The estimate came from the concrete contractor, because what has to be done is to pull up the drain, move it, and then relay some kind of hard surface underneath. You have to have a hard surface under. That's just a verbal estimate, but I can, if you want, get available to council a firm or a quote or a written estimate. That would assist.
Second part to your question.
Just simply as to whether it would be available to us, but as it's a verbal, I wouldn't expect that to be the case, but thank you for that.
Thank you. Councillor Duncan.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary. So I believe that there is a Netball New Zealand specifications document that's freely available for councils and Netball New Zealand to distribute. Is it your belief that those that any of those specifications were adhered to?
No, they weren't. I don't think anybody even knew about them, even though they're freely available on Google and they're designed for councils and netball centres. This is a copy. It's August 2013. I note that there's been a recent update of this just released in March 2024. So you're welcome to have copies of those if that would assist.
And further to that, if I may.
Yes.
That specifically talks about drainage within the courts.
Further questions, councillors? Councillor Loudon. Thank you.
Two questions. Where do you think the blame sits for this?
Well, sir, I'm a lawyer, construction lawyer, so I'm not going to give you any legal advice. If there was to be any legalities here, it would involve issues of negligence, contributory negligence, and breach of the health regulations, Health and Safety Act. I think blame is across the board. And we take blame as well.
Have you a follow-up question?
I do. Where do you see netball going this season with the courts in the state they are, and what time frame are we looking at to remedy?
Well, thank you. We're doing our best this year. We're hoping that those the painting on the top of the drains won't cause injuries. There's already been an injury on that concrete nib with tennis. The actual surface on the top hasn't been put on yet. The council are coordinating that with the concrete contractor. Sorry, just to go back to the last question, I don't think there's any liability on the contractors because they did the job they were asked to do. So yeah, so our time frame would have to be out of season. We're going to do our best this year with it, and we will be reducing places people can stand to cut down, mitigate injuries.
We have just over a minute left. Any further questions from councillors? Councillor Wong.
Hi Mary, thank you for coming. How many netball courts do you play on out there?
There's 4 courts altogether, but there's only 3 with hoops. This year, we'll be using all those 3. Last year, we only used 2 because of the Nara block was still being underway. We'll be using all 3 courts, and the 4th court will be a practice court. It doesn't have hoops on it. And it'll be used for the years 3 and 4 who do combination drills all together as a group.
Thank you.
Thank you very much that you've presented your case very well. What will happen here further is that council staff will prepare reports for councillors ahead of deliberations and we will then reply.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Nami. Do you want to?
Ken.
Yes, please. That would be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ken Bellamy. Ken, can you come front and centre, please? Councillors, Ken's follows on.
Morning.
Ken, this is a personal submission by you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Your time starts now.
Thank you. Good morning, all. I really want to address my submission under the further comments. And I've had previous discussions with council about the ideas with the Taihape Town Hall. And by way of clearer explanation, and I've actually brought along the diagram which I think will assist everybody with what I wanted to address. So with regards to the town hall, the majority of the issue at the moment is with the earthquake strengthening and the value to address that problem. And what I'm proposing is that we eliminate or we demolish a substantial part of the hall just to remove that issue with regards to spending good money on a problem that we don't need and don't want. And hopefully you'll understand.
Are you open for questions or are you?
Yes, I can do.
A question from me. You're supplying some sort of plan.
Yep.
In addition to your submission. Are you requesting that be a tabled item for consideration?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Further questions, councillors?
Yes,
Councillor Dalgety.
If I understand your proposal, is to remove the library.
correct.
Do you have a situation in Taihape where you think the library should be?
Yes, we do. Yes, I do. I
Where you
personally think that we should be relocating to a new building that's been built in town. And I made some inquiries regarding the lease arrangements on those buildings and the value of them. And I think that we, as a town, would get a better value than shifting it into there if we needed a library.
Thank you.
Further questions? Just councillors, while you're looking at this, you won't have the councillors and Martin won't have the benefit of this.
Yeah.
But can I just ask a question around the plan?
Mm-hmm.
Who has drawn that plan?
This plan,
Yes.
that's out of archives.
So it's an archival plan
Correct.
with an overlay that you are suggesting.
Yes, for removal. Yeah.
Thank you. And I understand your background, Ken, you were a builder.
Yeah.
So you're using that experience in terms of your plan.
Yes.
Thank you.
And of course, the examination of the building.
Okay, thank you. Further questions by councillors? Yes, councillor Moore.
The facade of the town hall.
Yes.
The major problem with the earthquake. Is there any solution in there that you've given for that?
Yeah, well, we're going to remove it.
Is the,
Yeah, all in that orange space.
Yeah.
Under my proposal is going. One of the factors that I have been giving a lot of thought about is actually material recovery. And I think there's some value in that as well.
Further questions, councillor Duncan?
Yes, John.
Morning. So I understand that you have read the earthquake report on the town hall. Yes, and so in that earthquake report, it doesn't actually say that the library is earthquake prone. Is that?
Oh, actually, the library is yeah, to some degree, yeah. But the problem that with the library is where it connects to the actual town hall.
Correct.
There's the issue.
Yes.
Is that line through there, and that's a pretty heavy structural line through there because the library was added to the town hall. And there lays a massive problem and a huge cost. Huge cost to try to rectify that.
Subsequent question.
Yes.
So your solution would include demolishing the whole of the library, not just addressing that.
Well, actually, there's
earthquake.
good, very good. There's two things that we could probably look at with the library. It's either to effectively cut it away from the building and we push it back if we needed to reuse that space. That's a possibility. Or we just take the whole library out and we relocate the library if we need a library.
Thank you.
Just a question from me, are you suggesting that there is no need for a library?
Well, Andy, there's a trend. There's a big trend in New Zealand for the libraries. What value they bring. We've moved on from libraries now. First thing we go to is our computers. Yeah, that's my concern. But I do understand that the library in Taihape, it probably gives a lot of comfort to a very small group of people who visit the library. We used to have a lot of kids used to go to our library purely to use the computers. Well, hey, all our kids have got 1 or 2 computers in their house now. So, I just wonder about the value of the library.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Delgado.
Yes.
Am I correct that, sorry, I'll rephrase my question. Do you see value in the historical construction and look of the hall, which I believe you will be demolishing?
I need to just, if you're familiar with the town hall, what effectively the line is, the stairs that go upstairs, they're staying in my proposal. Everything forward of that will be removed. Okay, that includes the library.
Yes, so the existing front of the hall will be removed.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, councillor Piketiora.
Morning again. Thank you for your submission. My question would be, if we went, do you believe that the money that could be saved in going with this project would be equal to the council potentially investing in into the new development you're talking about?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Further questions by councillors? No. Thank you very much, Ken.
Thank you.
Thank you for the considered thought that you've given to your submission.
Okay, so I don't know if my time's up, but there's 2 parts of my submission, and the other one was my friend over here, a grandstand.
You've got
And
2 minutes left.
Yeah, and so I wish to present that, and that was my proposal quite a few years ago. with regards to our grandstand and how we are going to include underneath that grandstand 6 more changing rooms with independent showers in each room.
Just a question, we've got another minute.
Okay.
And do you believe that the showers and the hour block are insufficient?
Correct, yes.
And what leads you to that belief?
Well, there's only 4 changing rooms, Andy, and we can have anywhere up to 8 teams on our park. And now we've got women's rugby. Well, that's even putting more pressure on the changing room space. And then, of course, we've got our friends at the netball who also need to have a changing room. So who's going to get the priority on the changing rooms?
Okay.
And also, I just might add, we have a 100-year-old historic record in our grandstand, and we need to maintain that. And of course, we had 640 people who wanted that to remain.
Okay. Thank you. I need to stop you there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We move on, councillors, to the next submission. This is a submission from Angela McIntyre. Angela, would you mind? No, it's a table document. We must retain it. Thank you, Angela. This is a submission from you personally.
Yes.
Thank you. The time is yours.
Thank you for having me. I'd just like to say that I've got a PowerPoint presentation. We mai whānau a tangata whenua, and I'm kaitiaki of our land. Through critical thinking and observation over many decades, along with learning and listening to those who have paved the way before us, help us embrace Papatūānuku, Mother Earth. She has a presence and authority that demands us to listen to and support her life cycles, so she has cycles. Thank you, Jen. Whether modification is real, it's happening now without our consent. Discreetly called experimental under scientific framework, all under the disguise of climate change. Modification leads to extremes, which is what we're seeing now. We're seeing that in Abu Dhabi. They have a massive weather system modifications operations place. Weather modification program started in 1940, earlier than that, 1920s through the military. In the 18s, it was abandoned as it was considered too damaging. And I have seen Mr. McKelvey, our last MP on this issue, and given you the same documents which are in the submission. And here is a patent for modifying and moving tornadoes and hurricanes. And the word that actually really annoys me is enhance. Why would you enhance something that is so destructive? It is the dimming of the sun that they are currently doing could it be related into what we call in the Bible and Revelations, Isaiah, Joel, Amos? Okay, the patents, as I say here, patents. Lyndon John B. Johnson, the 36th president of the USA, is officially recorded, and he states, "He who controls the weather will control the world." I would like to know what our commitment under the Paris Agreement, which is in the document one, I think, in my written submission. What is our agreement in connection to that? I can't find any information. It's very difficult because it's considered to be disinformation, misinformation, or the like. Australia is currently having issues, and there was a flood that was cloud seeded before the Tasmanian floods. And also the United States of America, what are our connections there? And as I'm only a person and a farmer, I'm unable to find that information. And so I'm asking that you find that information and see what our commitments are to that and how is it affecting our region. Currently in the States, Tennessee is one of them. They're passing bills and amendments for banning geoengineering. On slide 7 here, this is a typical what people call a chemtrail. It's smooth on one side and it has the little loops. Okay, number one, I sent to Mr. McKelvey and I said to him, look, they're spraying over our skies right now. You go and have a look and see what's happening. Sure enough, he sent me a photo back on my phone and said, yep, you're right, Angie, this is happening. And number two is there's 3 or 4 stripes and they were currently spraying back in 2023. They've got the dates there. On section 3, 5 and 6, we were cycling the bridge to nowhere and they were cloud seeding the sky there. Interesting enough, that was the same time that the Globemaster 111 was in New Zealand and everyone was marvelling about it. That is one of the particular planes that I know actually does do spraying of the skies, being linked to America. Section 8 up there, that actually was taken the day of the Tonga eruption. You can see a little bit of a rainbow there. That's the aluminium in the sky that's reflecting. Okay, and number 4, we were rafting the Rangitiki River and you can see that there's a halo and a haze. That's the dimming of the sun. The sun should not look like that. Thank you. Tom Bradford, okay, all of God's creation, spiritual, physical, energy and matter was designed, made interdependent to work cooperatively in perfect harmony. Therefore, all of the parts and the elements will also suffer together as a whole unit. Creation is bound into one uniform universe. So when we alter one, we affect another. Okay, so it's all intricate. Thank you. Okay, the solutions I have is for the council to stand up and say no to the government and not just geoengineering and a lot of other matters which do not make sense in our region that do not benefit. Represent and educate your constituents on geoengineering, allowing them to make informed choices and sound decisions on the issue. Any weather events, both health outbreaks and stuff that impact on the region need to be thoroughly investigated, especially if chemtrails have been observed prior to such events. Full testing needs to be done on our water supplies, on our soils, and they need to be transparent for everybody as public access to access that information. Urgent action is needed because it's effectively changed over the decades. And that needs to be analysed. Oh, actually, I think you've skipped one. Does that go back? No, okay. I'm sorry, it's not in sequence. This was yesterday. You can see the top photo. There's a classic example of a chemtrail. They were bombing our skies yesterday and I was really unhappy. So we need to look up and start seeing a normal contrail will disappear very rapidly. A chemtrail will start from one horizon right through to the other. And as you can see with Ian McKelvey, I was in Owenite, he was in Fielding and he took a photo. So a chemtrail or a contrail that's behind an engine, that is condensation from the hot engine going to cold, will rapidly disappear. Chemtrails will last from one horizon right through to the other. Okay, thank you. Is the next slide? Okay, I love God's creation. I love New Zealand. I'm not a bug, nor am I extended whānau and my generations to come, nor am I community or nations, and I need on record, I do not consent. Okay, moving on to my next issue is the turning bay at Owenite. This photo was taken during an event. A policeman came in to me and said, what are you doing? You're backed up on State Highway 1. And so I went out and I took a photo, and this was attending an event at McIntyre Reserve. Lots of events go from, lots of people from the Rangitiki go right through into the Manawatu area. It was said in our meeting at the pub that it was mainly for us, but I believe that's incorrect because we have the Rangitiki Tough Challenge, which will be in the next slide that you can read. Hang on, I haven't quite finished this slide, sorry. And you'll need to read the comments made by them because it's too much to do. But there is, you know, cross countries, dog trials, rewa sports, pony clubs, shooting clubs, sharing contractors, vets and stuff all come from the Rangitiki side over to the Manawatu. So it's really important that we work together on that. Thank you. This is the Tough Kids Challenge. You'll need to read that yourself because unfortunately I'm not going to run out of time. And that was the comments. They surveyed their people, participants, and that was the outcome. When I rang him, he was so thankful I'd rung him because he said we needed to do something about it. Next slide, please. There's a 1,200 visitors per year to the boulders. 1,000 of them are tourists. They mainly come from State Highway 1. 200 are locals and school groups. Thank you. These are the block visions of our turning bay. That car was parked there for a very long time. I'm suggesting that a yellow no overtaking line is put through there, and that will help to somewhat stop people from behind you passing you while you're trying to turn right. Onslow Street in Owenite has minimal traffic. There's no tourists, no nothing there, and they've got a large turning bay. Next slide. There's some trucks and there's caravans. You can see what goes on. Thank you. The next slide. We've got a speed camera. We've got a lovely police officer who parks there, Mr. Jones, in his red vehicle. Locals and other outside ex-locals have asked him not to park there. It is a designated park from Transit New Zealand, whatever they're called, Ko Wakatahi, and they actually that should be banned because that blocks the vision of that very dangerous intersection. Moving on to our bridge. Okay, this is our bridge. It's currently being fixed at the moment, but I don't think it's going to be sufficient enough. It's the only single suspension span bridge on the Rangatiki which is not influenced by the riverbed. So if we have a liquefaction, an earthquake, or some kind of slash build-up from forestry or trees or what have you, it means then that this may be the only access point for from the Manawatu to get through to the Rangatiki thing. So it's worthwhile noting that. It has high traffic, and in an emergency, it's huge. I've worked on both the ambulance here in Taihape, Martin, Fielding, and the like as a volunteer, and I can honestly say I understand the system. Taihape is a 5-hour turnaround. Martin, I can't remember the turnaround for that, but it takes over an hour for the ambulance from Fielding to get to us. So if Taihape is out, that's out for 5 hours. If the weather is bad, that means the chopper can't fly. And we can't, as ambulance officers, ask for a chopper if we're only a certain distance away. So this is actually quite significant. My granddaughter actually is due to have a transplant for her kidneys in July, but ultimately there are medical events that like that. She's 12 hours on dialysis a night.
1 minute left.
Okay, whoops. Right, moving on to the suspension bridge. Here's the crack along the end, is the Manawatu end. You can see on the walkway that it's significantly damaged. This is the Rangatiki side. You can see both ends it's cracked fully across there. Okay, and next slide then. You've got bolts. Look at the bolt. I've drawn a black line there. It's actually on a lean. I went to the bridge yesterday with our local iwi, one of our guys there, and he's explaining this to me. Those 3 bolts on number 3 are not even, so that doesn't mean that the plate moves evenly. If it moves up, it's going to place stress on one of those bolts in particular. The bolt 4, it's crooked. That's underneath the bridge. If you look where the council picture is, actually those plates, I've got the white line through there. Those plates are not actually horizontal. They are all bowed. So we've got a problem with our bridge that needs to be addressed. And it's not just strengthening the top plate. Oh, next slide. That's really important. On the edge here, this stops the wire from swinging and hitting the top rail. There is a move, I have a video that actually moves, and it's about 5 millimeters. Sorry,
Thank you, Angela, I need to stop you there in
please.
terms of time and process. Thank you. We have access to these photos, so we will take that as into the matters. Thank you very much for your submission.
You're right. You're welcome.
Move on to the submission from Peter Kipling-Arthur. This is the Taihape Community Board submission. Peter, you know the terms of engagement.
I do.
So the time is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship, councillors and people at the back.
really, it's a fairly minimal submission for us in terms of the key items on the long-term plan. The comments that we've made as a community board that we're quite happy with on key choices 1, 2 and 3, we've gave comments there. We asked that there are 2 other areas we wanted to make notes of. One is both of which involve, if you like, capital works. One is roading in the region. We are very aware, both from members attending long-term planning meetings out in the rural areas and also listening to people in the town, that roading is a major problem up in the north of the Rangitikei. We appreciate the fact that the council has worked hard with Waka Kotahi in terms of the Utuku slip, but we think that we've got to keep that pressure on Waka Kotahi or land transport for the next 3 years or more, because the roading through this area is at risk. The rural roading unit, the council definitely needs more funding for. And the paperwork, I know, talking to one of the contractors or one of the subcontractors that's used to clear roads, all the paperwork for health and safety and stop-go signs, etc., that he's required to do is so costly. He's looking at pulling out and just concentrating on farm work rather than doing the roading, because he doesn't get any subsidy. He's got to do that before he's allowed to work. It's something that if we don't work on the roading on a long-term, clear long-term, the northern Rangitikei is going to go backwards, particularly the extended rural areas. And I think the previous speaker alluded to that with comments on the bridge. And it's something we don't want to see. The town, on the other hand, seems to be going ahead reasonably with the traffic through, but it's the time frame. The community board submitted to the council last year on certain safety issues on the main road. We know that it's been lodged, it's working its way through the system. But in that time, there have been so many near misses on the Gretna corner that we're just waiting for the next ambulance call to go up, and hoping it's not the Gretna. All we're asking is that the staff assist us, the local boards, the local committees, to keep pressure on Waka Kotahi. If we can help you and you can help us, that would be great. The second thing is the major capital works, which were discussed last year, which was the grandstand and the Town Hall Civic Centre. And if I may, the Town Hall Civic Centre was opened in 1912 with the library in situ as part of the building at the time. So what the TCB is wanting to say is, yes, we appreciate the effort the council has made in both these buildings in the last year, that the decisions have been made to go ahead, that you are making progress with doing things, and that the communication has been good. I can speak personally that the staff communication to us has been responsive and clear, not filled with jargon. And the gentleman involved has met with some of the people on the advisory committee just to clarify questions that staff had, and to also spread the word. And it's something that we think is going to help the town. I would note that we're probably one of the few civic centres, if you like, with a very large stage and a very large hall, due respect to Martin Councillor Dalgetty. But also it's future-proofing the northern Rangitikei. And I know that the next speaker behind me is also talking in that terms, that for the northern Rangitikei to survive as a region, we need the council to work hard, and we try and support you on those things. There's some things we will disagree with. There are other things we would like to open communication. And we've found 2 years ago, communication between council staff and the board was difficult. The last year, it's become a lot easier, a lot more freer. I think maybe, Andy, that could be your advice to us as how to approach things. Thank you.
You happy to take some questions?
I'm happy to take questions.
Go Councillor Duncan and myself, Councillor.
So thank you very much, Peter. Thank you for your submission. I'm very concerned about your comments around the roading in the township. Do you actually believe that, particularly that Gretna Corner has the potential for fatality?
I do. One of the board members has observed 4 cyclists in the tourist season going straight through the Gretna Corner down Taihape Street with a B train coming the other way.
A subsequent question, if I may. Do you believe that is due to the road marking particularly?
The road markings are virtually invisible, and if you don't know the town, it's very easy to make that mistake.
Careful not to lead the witness here. A question from me. In terms of the grandstand, we had reports that clearly identified that council's contribution will be insufficient to do the work. Can you give us some idea of where the fundraising locally is at?
There has been no fundraising locally because there has been no memorandum of understanding or communication from several years ago when it was listed as to how that should be taking place and what is happening. It's only in the last 6 months when the council has said we're looking to do maintenance work on the grandstand within that $1 million budget. I think if that has then come to a halt because of added costs, then we need to go back and look at that. I believe that the plan was for maintenance work only, closing the bottom off, but opening up the stand and repainting. And that was feasible.
Thank you, Councillor Heather. Councillor.
So just subsequent to what your question, Andy, sorry, there was no MOU has been made between council and Taihape Community Board?
Between anyone, if I can, if there are slight conflict of interest, I'm on both the Museum Society and also on the Heritage Subcommittee for the grandstand. And there was no progress on that prior to last year. And at the end of 2022, when council said we'll go ahead with maintenance work only, that was fine because it gave us a break to do other things. I think if that's the case, we need to look at that again as a combined group, heritage, sports and council.
Thank you. Oh, thank you very much. Sorry, Councillor, you've got time. Councillor Dagby.
I do apologise.
That's right.
I'm interested. Do you feel that we need more changing sheds and toilets below the grandstand?
I can't comment totally on the number of changing rooms. I was down at the rugby on the weekend, and I was talking from a point of view of maintenance, leaving underneath open, and if some of the rugby clubs wanted to take that over and develop that, that's fine. You know, it was a blank canvas, if you like. And they were some of them were talking, we want to come out from underneath the grandstand. That's our home ground, etc. They also commented about I got my ear fairly well burnt about the lack of hooks in Na'awa on the changing rooms, but I gather that's underway. It could be done, but it's not a number I would have to be comfortable putting a figure on.
Thank you very much for your submission. While we're moving on to the submission Mokai Patia Services Councillors, you need to be careful that your question, any question relates specifically to the submission that is presented. So I'm taking that your question was related to toilets is associated with the grandstand rather than a wider context. Thank you. Jude, we welcome you. Jude, just before your timing starts, first of all, welcome. If you could just introduce yourselves and who you're representing before your time starts.
Kia ora tātou, I'm Jude McDonald, I'm the CE of Whanganui Regional Health Network, who is an owner of Taihape Health Limited, which we operate as a subsidiary, and I'd just like to welcome Naomi Martin, who's our service manager for Taihape Health Limited. I'm here representing a collaborative, of which Peter is a member of the Taihape Health Trust, Mōkai Pātea Services, so acknowledging you, Piki Tua, and obviously the network and Taihape Health Limited.
And just before your time starts, we note that there's been a conflict of interest reported from Councillor Piki. Your time is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you for meeting with us today and giving us the opportunities for the submission. Since we last met with you, we have been making steady progress. Also want to acknowledge Galen, where we have been meeting and working through with the council leads around how this project that we have embarked on is going to sustain and future-proof health and social service delivery for Taihape. Just to recap quickly, we are looking at moving one Aurora services and all of the health services into the old Taihape Hospital Rural Health Centre site. And we are undergoing some major renovations to the value at this point of 3.4 million. 3 NGOs are funding that from reserves and raising some additional funding, and this is all about the critical factors for health and well-being. The potential to collaborate further on that site is considerable. The network and Mōkai Pātea Services will be the leaseholders, so the Crown is surrendering their day-to-day management of that site, and it will allow us the potential to utilise that rather large footprint in a really positive way with the community and for the community. The submission pertains directly to 2 factors that we are seeking your support for. One is that the provision of maintenance grounds and gardens of the new site is considered as in a joint venture opportunity. We know that you already have the infrastructure and the workforce, and it is about us using resources carefully and with consideration. The second one is that obviously 3.4 million funding raised through reserves, particularly from the network, Taihape Health Limited and Mōkai Pātea, is considerable. We met with the Taihape Health Trust on Monday, and they are committing to raise 500,000, and that is to refurbish public spaces, which are not critical for the community's clinical services, but they're critical to what our community have asked for, as far as sharing that facility for their use as well as for delivering services. There was some suggestion that a loan may be able to be available on competitive terms from the council. We are not clear yet what our shortfall might be. We know that the funding planning still requires some further costing for today's costs. The costs we have are 21-22. There could be some movement in that regard, and so therefore we are seeking some further consideration by council if that's at all an option. So that's, I'm just going to leave it there because I think that you know a lot of information, so I don't want to repeat myself.
We do. Thank you. So you're happy to take questions?
Yes, I am.
Questions from councillors?
Just a statement before I ask the question. I am on the health trust as a member, but to declare a conflict of interest. But I have no personal gain, but I can be seen to be impartial, not to be, I can be seen to be partial, so.
Okay,
I
thank you. Can I just ask a question around, in terms of timeframe, where do you think you're at? Are you on track?
So we are now waiting on consent for the most significant part of the development, which is the Tamariki wing and a link corridor. That consent is expected, I hope, in the next month or so. We have got builder lined up. He will then recost it, and that will be the most significant piece of work that gets underway. We've also got some temporary relief of services, maternity services, to another part. The other parts of the development are less labour and building intensive, if you like. We're using the footprint and the walls that are already there.
Yep.
And we are, fingers crossed, are really mindful that we would like to be in by the end of this year, beginning of next year.
2 clarification questions from me with regard to that consenting process. So, who has lodged the consent, and does that consent sit with our council staff?
Yes, it does, and it's been lodged by Black Pine, Duncan Sinclair, who's our architect.
Yes, your architects, not from, for instance, the DHB.
No.
So they are completely removed.
Well,
from
not
this
completely.
process?
As you appreciate, the hospital, it was an old hospital. There's a lot of major infrastructure underneath. They will remain as a Crown interest, and they have been an enabler. They have committed to putting right all of the deferred maintenance. So you appreciate there was at least 10 years where not much was done up there, inside or out. And we're still holding them to that. They have agreed verbally to refurbish the front entry, which I'm having further discussions today about that. So it is not in our best interest to remove ourselves completely from the Crown because of the age and stage of that building. But they will be handing Mōkai Pātea and the network a lease agreement, which we will then have at a peppercorn rental. This also safeguards the asset that the community already own, which is the building that we're currently in.
So thank you. You're clarifying some situations in terms that are going to arise later. In terms of that lease agreement, you would be responsible as lessee for the maintenance of the grounds rather than it being a maintenance function. Thank you. Further questions?
There's a question here from Councillor Rakawa. She's had her hand up for a while.
Sorry, I've missed that. My apologies. I'll take that now.
Oh, kia ora, Judith, and one ngā mihi nui kia kōrua. A question from me is 2. Can you give me quickly an idea of the service area of coverage that this will be a part of, and also do you have an idea of the numbers of clients that you'll be servicing? Just, broadly.
So I'm not sure whether you're familiar, but the entire site that is currently housing the Taihape Rural Health Centre and Taihape Health Trust's current THL, the entire footprint of the Crown campus is included in the lease agreement. So that includes Dr. Eddie's old doctor's surgery, the sheds, the boiler, the whole entire footprint. All of the services that are currently being operated by Taihape Health, so that includes general practice, Meals on Wheels, palliative care, maternity, all of those services are going into the Rural Health Centre. We will be vacating entirely the current building that is owned by Taihape Health Trust. Mōkai Pātea services are bringing in their Wana Wara service, but they will remain on their footprint in Hautapu Street.
Councillor Loudon.
Well, thank you. You're doing really well. Just a question about the loan system, if needed. Where would you think the deficit might be in the capital projects or in the operating
No. So the operating will be covered off by the capital plans that the operating arms are putting in, and we're cognizant of some additional needs going in there. The capital is what worries us most. You know, we had it costed out well by a quantity survey in 21-22. We believe that the movement in cost is significant around building, and we are a little nervous about that. I originally, WRHN had committed 2 million of reserves, some of which is THL reserves, which we hold in our subsidiary company there. I went back 2 months ago to ask for further investment because I didn't believe it was enough. So 2.6 mil is all we're going to get out of our organisation, and we're still not clear. But what we do have is quite a authority process where this first wing will be committed to. Whatever's left over will be spread across what we need to do, and there may be some compromises that we need to make, or there may be some staging for further work, or it may be that we fund a lot.
Jude, thank you very much. We are out of time.
Yep. Okay.
And I appreciate the amount of work that you've done, etc. Thank you for your submission. Councillors, I'll move that we will adjourn this meeting until 11, not 10:50, or at the start in which we can physically relocate. Looking for a seconder to that adjournment. Thank you, Councillor Duncan. Those in favour, carried. We now formally adjourn. I'm sorry, people, that we do not have the opportunity to stay with you and discuss. That is the time frame that I'm under today. But I thank you for your submissions. Councillors, please travel safely between here and I'd rather we were a few minutes late than somebody trying to beat the land speed record.
We were having a race.